Welcome to You Know Me, a podcast of the Golden Isles in Brunswick. This is The Beard.
I'm Buddha.
Hey, Buddha, how are you today?
I'm doing good. We're having a great month. Weather's beautiful. Great time to be outside.
Yeah, it's a great time to actually discover the coastal Georgia.
Oh, nice. That's perfect because, as we do this podcast about everything cool about Brunswick and the Golden Isles and what to do and where to go, we have the perfect person here.
Yes.
So why don't you introduce yourself to everybody? Tell us who you are and what you do, and let's talk about Discovering Coastal Georgia.
All right. Thank you for having me. So I'm Sara Brand, and Discovering Coastal Georgia was started by me and my mom. Her name is Pam Brand. I live here in Brunswick, and she lives on St. Simon's Island. And we started Discovering Coastal Georgia about a year ago, just to show off the beauty of coastal Georgia, to show the great hotels, the great restaurants, the awesome things to do here, and to really show people that there's more to coastal Georgia than just Savannah, as much as we love it.
So what was the moment that you decided you want to do this Discovering Coastal Georgia?
I can't say there was really a moment. We started a southern food blog about 10 years ago called Biscuits and Burlap. And a lot of the recipes that we developed on that blog were inspired by food we grew up eating here on the coast, food we ate in the restaurants. And so we found ourselves writing about this area and writing about those restaurants and those memories on that website. And it really, I think my mom said that she had been thinking about starting a coastal Georgia travel site, and I had also already, we hadn't discussed it whatsoever. And she said, I've kind of been thinking about doing this. I was like, I've been thinking about doing this. So yeah, that was about a year and a half ago, and we did a little thinking just on a name and things like that, and then just started writing. And we started with St. Simon's and Brunswick content just because it was the part of coastal Georgia that we're the most familiar with. Yeah. And then went live with the website, and that was March of 2024.
Wow. Go ahead.
So what can someone see or do on your website when they go to it?
So on the website, you'll find our main focuses are things to do, places to stay, and where to eat. So we focus on the restaurants, the hotels. We're also, with things to do, that's really broad. So we're looking at campgrounds. We're looking at historical sites. We're looking at the events. And the events is a big focus for us with our newsletter. We send out a monthly newsletter that has events going on all up and down the coast. So events is really a big focus in there's so many things going on in Savannah all the time. Of course, there's so much going on in Atlanta and in Jacksonville, but there's really cool festivals and First Fridays and smaller events like that happening in Brunswick and in Blessing of the Fleet in Darien, and crawfish festivals in Woodbine. And there's so much going on right here.
So how many subscribers do you have to the website?
That is a great question. I have no idea. I actually have no idea. We look at growth, and as long as we see it going up, that's what we're focused on. So I'm not really sure the answer to that question.
How do you get the traffic to the website? Is it like just mostly people Googling like coastal Georgia, Brunswick, and then they're able to find your website that way? Yeah,
it's all organic. It mostly comes from Google and Pinterest.
Okay.
So people who are planning, I would think Google is a good healthy mix of people who are from the area and people who are visiting. And I think it's a lot more in the moment. We're here, we're on St. Simon's Island, where do we eat?
Right.
And versus Pinterest is more people planning their trip and trying to decide where in coastal Georgia do I want to go, or we've already landed on Jekyll Island, so I'm going to gather all these articles on a board and start planning my trip.
Wow.
That's really cool. And I know I used to drive Uber and mostly on St. Simon's, so I would get people in the car going, where can we go eat? It's like, oh, well, what do you feel like tonight?
Yeah. Right. Well, and I love that my mom and I, because, we're obviously two different generations. So when we would travel to this area, we're doing different things, right? My idea of a good time and her idea of a good time might not always be the same thing. So it's kind of nice because you have those two different perspectives, that she likes making content about great golf courses and the more upscale restaurants, and she loves a community event. We both do. I like writing about the best bars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't blame you on that one.
Yeah, I like writing about the bars and the camping. She is not going camping in coastal Georgia, I can assure you. but I will. And, I do. And so finding out where you can go camping, where you can play a game of pool, where you can get cheap eats, is sort of the difference between our travel styles means that there's really something for everyone there.
Yeah.
So your job is fun. Your job sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's definitely, and we joke about that we're like, oh, we have to travel to this beautiful place to eat at this beautiful restaurant tonight, for work.
Yeah, for work.
I have to admit, when I was a junior in college, my roommate's mom is a travel agent, and she sent us down to Cancun for the week, all on her dime. She paid for everything, and all we had to do was spend one day to go around to all the hotels and just take pictures of the hotels and go into some of the hotel rooms and take pictures for her travel website.
Right.
But we ended up having 6 days of beach volleyball and beer and a lot of tequila. It was a really, really fun trip. But yeah, it's like, oh, this is really hard work to do. So I can see how fun it is to go around and explore things. Do you go into some of these newer restaurants? Let's just say the new sports bar that's opening up. Mm-hmm. You walk in and say, hey, I'm with Discovering Coastal Georgia. We're going to write something about you on your website. Do they kind of bring out like a little chef's table for you to sample the food?
No, usually we don't get the red carpet rolled out. That would be nice. But no, usually it's sort of in the moment. If we happen to meet the owner while we're there, or if I'm planning a trip, like I did some work, for example, with Oaks on the River in Darien. So knowing that I had dates that I was going to go to Oaks on the River, I reached out to Tabby House Brewery in Darien and a few other places to just say, hey, I'm going to be there for 24 hours. I would love to stop by, create some content while I'm there. So, I try to line things up. And I try to announce it on Instagram and Facebook if we're going somewhere. So if there is like a new business that we haven't heard about that wants to get on our radar, so they can say, hey, stop by and come see me while you're here. So yeah, it kind of just happens organically with what we're already doing.
That's probably the better way of doing it, because then you get the actual experience, not kind of like everyone on their best behavior type of thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they don't have to know what I'm going to write about. And I do get some businesses that once I post the pictures on Instagram, an hour after I left dinner, they say, "Oh, I didn't know you were here. I wish we would have known."
Yeah.
It was great anyway.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
Catch them in the moment, right? So.
Right. Well, yeah, and I mean, we haven't written anything bad about any businesses. It's definitely not what we're out to do. So we've had great experiences. We've had not so great experiences. The worst that is going to happen to you is not ending up on the latest list of the best seafood restaurants, so whatever, but we're not going to say don't go to this place.
Right. We kind of had that conversation last night about people trashing restaurants and stuff online.
Right.
It's not really called for. The best thing to do is just to not say anything.
And that's something you see so much in Facebook groups. I think it's interesting. I've joined a lot of different community Facebook groups kind of up and down the coast just so I could stay up to date on what's going on. And I've noticed a big difference. Like, of course, I live in Brunswick, so the Brunswick Facebook groups I'm in are really supportive and, a great place to go for advice. And there's other community Facebook groups where they're just trashing their neighborhood and their city, their county, and all the people in it. And it's, you gotta have a little bit of pride. I love it. Like, they don't know that I'm here to write about, like,
exactly.
And that's the reason I'm in this group, is because I want to write about this place and what makes it unique and what makes it great. So yeah, it's hard when people don't have that pride in their community.
So are you originally from Georgia?
I'm from Atlanta.
Okay.
So I actually just moved to Brunswick. We just bought this house about 6 weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Yeah. Beautiful.
I know, isn't it nice?
Yeah.
It's really nice.
So my dad is from the Brunswick area.
Okay.
So my grandparents and cousins have always been here. My mom's from Jacksonville, North Florida. And so she grew up coming to this area. So it's always been a place that's been close to our hearts, and I've come several times a year my whole life, and then my parents moved here full-time a couple years ago, and we just fully by surprise moved here. we had no intention of moving to Brunswick, but we fell in love with this house on Zillow. And we made an offer.
I tell you, Zillow is like porn for 40-year-olds.
I was just playing.
Yeah.
I was just sitting on the couch, just scrolling through Zillow and just fantasizing about houses, and fell in love with this one.
Yeah. I do that all the time. I'm like, I look at houses on Union Street in downtown, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing. At lunchtime sometimes I'll just pop on Zillow and just kind of scroll through and just kind of seeing what houses kind of catch my eye, and usually
we had this house under contract, and we hadn't even put ours on the market yet, and like we're not moving. Like, we had no plan to move. One of my New Year's resolutions for this year was to start the conversation about moving to this area. So,
done and done.
Checked it off.
Well, that's great. So you've actually seen the growth and the changes over the many years.
Right.
I've been here for 10 years, and I've seen a huge change in 10 years, but you've seen way more than I have.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting listening to my dad talk about, Brunswick when he was a kid and how it's changed. And I mean, really, our whole family, we're all so impressed with the growth, particularly here in Brunswick, and what they're doing with the downtown area is just, it's just incredible. It's a really cool place to be.
It is, yeah, and that's one of my favorite places. It's like I always end up, me and my wife always end up downtown. It doesn't matter. Tuesday night, where you want to go eat? Let's go downtown. Like Wednesday, downtown. Thursday, downtown. Like I'm always downtown. Like it's funny because it's like, where do you want to go eat? And we always end up eating at one of the restaurants downtown. Like, we don't think about anything else, even though there's so many in the greater Brunswick, Glenn County area. Yeah. We're always either at Tipsy's, Reed's, Bollywood, one of those at the restaurants downtown.
And I haven't been to Bollywood yet. They're definitely on my list.
Yeah. You'll love it. It's great.
I was really excited about them opening.
I actually got to meet the owner and the executive chef just before they opened. The chef is straight out from India, and the owner's from London. So it's a London Indian restaurant. So it's not like you're in India, but the way they cook and do it in London.
Yeah.
And I love it. I get the tandoori chicken kebabs every single time I'm there, just so I can take them home and have them for lunch the next day. Like, I'll order a full meal and 2 appetizers, and for that chicken tandoori kebab comes home with me.
Yeah, I enjoy their butter chicken. The butter chicken is delicious.
Yeah, I can't wait to check them out.
Yeah, and so they're great. The service is great. Here we are making content for you.
and we've really been having to kind of force ourselves to get out of Brunswick. And of course, St. Simons, my parents live on St. Simons. So when we were coming down here to visit before we moved here, that's where we usually were. So we're really familiar with St. Simons. We have our favorite restaurants, our favorite bars, and all of that. Brunswick, we've got those here too, but trying to say, okay, we're gonna go check out some other things. You and I, before we started recording, we were talking about, we went yesterday to Captain Stan's Smokehouse in Woodbine. Have you been there?
I've heard of it. I have not been there.
It was incredible. It was incredible. And we went down to Crooked River State Park in St. Mary's to just hike the trails and just see what's what. And we almost got attacked by an alligator. And after finding a new lease on life, we decided we should go grab a beer at Captain Stan's. It was such a cool place. And there's a stage for live music. And so we're definitely going to have to come back for live music. And that's, if we had stuck to what we knew in Brunswick and St. Simons, we wouldn't have found it.
Yeah, we need to venture more a little bit south. There's an Italian restaurant, I think in Kingsland, that I'm dying to try. It's called Greenhouse, I think.
It is, yeah.
Called what now?
Greenhouse? Is it called the Greenhouse? Green something.
Green... I think you might be right. It's Green something, and it's a Sicilian restaurant in St. Mary's. Kingsland, St. Mary's, right there. I don't remember the name of it, but I haven't been there, but everybody raves about it. And it's a Sicilian restaurant.
And the owner's from Boston, so I have to go. I have to go. We had, our Boston buddies, we got to stick together.
I think it's the Green Room.
The Green Room. I think you might be right.
Okay. That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of great things about it, and I joke when I used to drive around Uber and I pick people up from Tremicci's, and like, oh, Tremicci's, how's your dinner? Oh, it was great. We loved it. That's the second best Italian restaurant in the Golden Isles. I make that wide open statement because it always say, well, what's the best Italian restaurant? My house. I always say that. It's got to be my house. I take reservations too.
Now, speaking about this Discovering Coastal Georgia, we talked about this a little bit before we started, but how far is your reach with?
So all of coastal Georgia. So we go from Savannah to St. Mary's and everything in between. So so we're trying to, of course, we are covering Savannah. If we were going, content per capita, there would be a lot more Savannah than elsewhere. We're trying to steer away from that and do a lot more in other areas. But yeah, definitely all the way from the Florida border to South Carolina border.
Wow. And you talked about you put out a newsletter, and the newsletter has restaurant recommendations, correct, and then events. How hard is it to get all those events in time?
It's hard. So one thing I have learned is that there's not much outside of Savannah, particularly. There's not much emphasis on social media marketing amongst the businesses and communities here. So it is hard to find information about what's going on, because that's how I'm used to getting my information. And I don't know if that's just the city girl in me from Atlanta that I don't know if it's supposed to be word of mouth down here, but it is sometimes hard finding out about events. So we really just have to spend a lot of time researching it and talking to. We follow every newsletter for every Visitors Bureau and Chamber of Commerce and tourism boards for all of the areas up and down the coast. So yeah, that's how we're finding out about it. And if we're lucky enough to stumble across it on Facebook or Instagram, it's definitely going on the list.
Now, do you try, I know some events happen on the same day, so it's hard to be in two places at one time, but do you try to go to a lot of the events that are happening?
We definitely try to go to them. It's helpful that there's two of us. Yeah. And it's helpful that we have a lot of friends that love to go out to these events, so we can say, hey, are you going to this one? I need some pictures at the very least. And so we're actually just now starting a series of writing full articles for the website about annual events.
Okay.
That are going to be consistently happening every year, to write really comprehensive articles about them that can be updated every year. And for those, of course, we're going to want to actually go and make sure we have all the information. But for social media, a lot of times it's enough to just have a few pictures. On St. Patrick's Day weekend, I went to the Grilling in the Golden Isles event at, I don't know how to say it, Gascon. No one else knows how to say it either.
I don't know how to say it.
Gascon.
Gascon Park.
I'll leave you to say it out, so this way I don't get in trouble.
That's what I'd say.
I think it's Gascon. I've asked people and no one else seems to know either, so I don't feel bad if I mispronounce it.
Paul, do you know how to say it?
It's Gascoigne.
Gascoigne.
Gascoigne. Okay.
Oh, okay, so I've been pronouncing it wrong.
Are you sure? Did you name it?
It's C-O-I-G-N-E or something.
C-O-I-G-N-E, yeah.
Gascoigne.
Yeah.
Gascoigne. Okay.
So at that park, there was a Grilling in the Golden Isles event to benefit Morning Star Children and Family Services. And we were actually invited to that event by the organizer of the event. So definitely going to go to that one. But at the same time, I forget there were multiple events happening that day.
Yeah.
That I was like, there's a block party in Redfern Village, and I wanted to go to that just to take a quick little video and just say, hey, this is happening. Get down here. And then for my own personal reasons, I wanted to go to the beer mile at Silver Bluff.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I was there. You were there too.
I was there.
It was a good time.
Yeah. So I ended up creating content for all three, but it's funny because I am walking to my car, leaving one event and going to the next, and I'm trying to post content just as fast as I can, because for an event it doesn't make sense to post it the next day.
Right.
You know, that doesn't do any good, especially if it's something like a fundraiser for
Right,
a
benefit,
nonprofit, that they need bodies to come. We want to spread the word. It's for a good cause. So definitely want to get the word out right there at the beginning of the event where people still have time to come.
Yeah. Now, how important is the social media presence for Coastal Georgia?
It's incredibly important.
Yeah.
So if you are just hanging out in your own hometown, you hear about new restaurants opening and events going on through word of mouth, and that's fine. But the real bread and butter is the tourism industry. It's people coming from elsewhere. And if people are coming up from Florida, they're coming from Atlanta, they're coming from other states, online is, social media is where they're looking.
Yeah.
And I was talking with someone the other day that and said it's just like every destination, every little unknown town is just one viral video away from I have to visit this place.
Right,
like
that's true.
I have to be
True.
here.
Yeah.
And so if you're a business owner here, then you really want to make sure that you're putting it out there. You're putting work into creating those specials for your customers. If you're not telling them what's on the menu, you're not showing them this beautiful food,
Right.
then why are you doing it? You're showing it to people who are going to come anyway, and the idea is you want to get more people in there. So that's why I started offering social media services. That's the day job. In addition to Discovering Coastal Georgia, I do freelance work as a social media manager. And so when I started seeing that so many of the businesses down here don't really have a social media presence, that meant that there was less for Discovering Coastal Georgia to share,
Right.
to promote. We want to promote them, but they don't have the content out there. So that was what made me realize I could kind of merge the day job and Discovering Coastal Georgia and start offering to create social media content for those businesses.
Yeah.
So that they'll have that presence out there.
Yeah. And it's important to try to get this stuff before the event actually happens, correct?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
they're like I see some of these charity events and I don't know about it till the day it actually happens, and it's like, well, you have to buy a ticket and this and that, and then it's like I
Or you
wish I knew
stumble
that.
across it.
Or you stumble across it, yeah.
You really
Right.
do. Like, like we'll let's go down to Pier Village, and then all of a sudden, oh wait, there's a chili cook-off today, and it's like, oh well, we got to do that. But it would have been nice to know ahead of time, because then it'd be like, we're definitely coming here.
Right. I've been sitting at a restaurant and saw on social media a special that they had at the restaurant that no one told me while I was at the restaurant that they had it. I'm like, I probably would have.
Well, that actually happened to me one time. I'm not going to name the restaurants or anything like that, but it was they had a drink special, and they actually posted that they had a drink special, but they didn't tell anybody that worked there that they had a drink special. So I'm like, can we have the drink? And they're like looking at me, and I'm like,
Did they even know they had a drink special?
I'm like, it's like the drink special.
Like, that's what your social media says.
Right. It's like, hey.
Maybe the boss didn't send out the memo in time for the bartenders. Do you find tourism is a shift in tourism? Because like a Savannah is a destination spot because it's Savannah. And they want to do the haunted tours and see the squares, but you find that people, okay, we're going to Savannah, but we're going to maybe travel down to find some of the smaller towns because they want to get off the beaten path. I know, like when you travel Europe, you might go to Rome, but you want to get off the beaten path and find the small Italian villages because that's where the real Italian is. That's where you see the authenticity. So are they people kind of doing that, and they're trying to find some authentic Southern fair, Southern hospitality.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's two different types of travelers. There's travelers who want to see those main sites that are in all the guidebooks, and they've been told they need to see this, so this is what they're going to see. And there's ones who just want to get out there and go somewhere a little more obscure and, like you said, off the beaten path. And that's the type of traveler I am. We love traveling internationally, and off the beaten path is where it's at. And pretty much everywhere we go, our friends are saying, "Why there?" Yeah. But then when they hear about the experiences we had there, they're blown away, and now they get it. And I think there's so many. If you do leave Savannah and you get, I feel like I'm knocking Savannah. There's nothing wrong with Savannah. Nothing. But I feel like there's so much going on in these smaller towns that if you do get off that beaten path, if you are the type of traveler who likes to do that, we want them to know that they don't have to go to other states to find the cool, authentic experience they're looking for.
Actually, that you mentioned off the beaten path during First Friday, which was extremely busy this past First Friday. I was wearing my kilt and whatever, and this but it has to do with the story. This gentleman just came up to me and he says, he just kind of complimented on my outfit. And he's like, I don't know if he asked me if there was, if what's going on or what is this? And I go, oh, this is First Friday. And I was like asking him questions. I thought maybe he was part of FLETC, right? Because a lot of the people are from FLETC, the trainees.
But not a town.
Yeah. And he's like, no, him and his friends were traveling and they stopped to get gas somewhere, and I guess they asked, like, where can I go eat or something, and the person told him, oh, if you go down this way, they got First Friday. So he just ended up finding First Friday. So he, people in the community are like telling people about what's going on, so that's a good thing.
Right, yeah, definitely.
We
can't, especially now that, anytime we were traveling here and there was a First Friday in Brunswick, you were going to find us here, find us there. And now that we live here, we're not missing a First Friday.
We try not to. Yeah, First Friday is, we've talked about it in a lot of our episodes, but from when we've moved here, and just watch the progression of how busy and how big First Friday has grown from its initial basically start to now. Like, I don't even know how many people were there this First Friday. They had to have been, close to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people. I don't know. It was a lot of people.
A ton of people.
Yeah.
It was a really good turnout. The Elvises didn't show up as much as we wanted. We definitely did not get 1,000 Elvises. But there was a good number of Elvises walking around. But yeah, it was a busy night. There was a lot going on.
And we went to Coast Fest in Mary Ross Waterfront Park, and are y'all familiar?
Oh yeah.
So we were blown away by how huge that was, given that it was. Given the topic that is conservation, preservation, natural resources. I love the topic, but I didn't expect it to be bigger than First Friday and bigger than, really bigger than any event I've been to here.
Yeah, and it's a big one for kids. The kids love it because they get to see
snakes,
the snakes,
turtles,
yeah, and that's put on by the DNR. I think the Department of Natural Resources and that's an event that happens every year. So that's something like you mentioned in your newsletter, you would write article for.
So that's exactly why we ended up there, because we wanted to, to do our research. We wanted to create some social media content right there in the moment and say that it's going on, but also we wanted to prepare for writing an article about it as an annual event so that next year we can post things well in advance.
Now, do you work with any of the Chamber of Commerce's throughout
Do I work with?
the Chamber of Commerce's at all?
We not officially. We have been talking with several of the Chamber of Commerce's. So we're getting involved in some of the networking events, the business after hours events. We've done with the Brunswick Golden Isles Chamber of Commerce, and we have been invited to go to some similar events with the Dairy and Macintosh Chamber, but that's definitely something that we're interested in doing. That's definitely, we've been, actually, some of them may have gotten emails from us today. Now that I think about it, I think my mom told me this morning she was writing emails to a few of them. So that's definitely on our radar, and we want to be on those. That we're here to spread the word about the businesses going on. That's one of the missions of a Chamber of Commerce, is that they promote those businesses in their chamber. So we want to help them do that, whether that's through Discovering Coastal Georgia, or whether that's through me coming in and creating social media content for them as a freelancer. However we can support them.
Yeah. Now, does the Chamber of Commerce, and I might be naive about this, does the Chamber of Commerce, do they also take care of, like, the visitor centers, or is that two different?
They're two different organizations. I did recently find out, I don't know if I don't want to call anyone out, but I was in a small community in coastal Georgia and found out it was the same person running both. So I think that's probably the case in a lot of these smaller towns, but technically they are two different entities with two different purposes.
Right. So do you try to now work with both of them? Like, are you trying to work with both of them?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, visitors bureaus and tourism boards and Chamber of Commerce's and visitors centers. Yeah. Definitely all of the above. I think they have the same goal. Right. That we have, that you have, is we're just all about promoting it and promoting what's going on.
Yes, definitely, because that's why we started. Exactly, that's why we started the podcast. Is the same reason that you guys started Discover Coastal Georgia, is to promote the area and make people familiar with what's in this area, and to actually talk to, business owners and people that live here.
Right.
And get that intimate connection with the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great businesses and talented artists, talented musicians. So it's all those things that make this area desirable, make this area great for people to come visit, because there's good food, there's good music, there's some fantastic artists around here. Mm-hmm. And so it just makes sense to, hey, come down here, check it out. There's art shows, there's live, especially First Friday, because you have like 3 or 4 live bands going all at the same time. A lot of times, maybe a DJ here and there, and it's just a great way to kind of get like a little condensed version of what this entire community is about, and just in a few blocks.
Crash course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun, and I think this is great that you're doing it, because I came across your Instagram. I'm like, oh, I got to follow these guys, and then it's like, oh, we got to get these people on the podcast, because this is, we're kind of doing the same thing. We're just using different mediums, and it's fun, because now it's like, well, we need to get your newsletter so we can put that on our social media.
Right.
And I can also put on my other social media, because it's a lot of views there.
Yeah, and we definitely want to know, like I said, I'm scouring the internet every month to try to find events that are going on that we can put in our newsletter, and sometimes I end up deleting blocks out of the newsletter because I can't find enough, even though there's a week after I send it, I'm going to hear about some event,
and then it's not on there.
I would have put that in the newsletter if I knew about it.
It's just hard sometimes.
So, our dream is to have businesses and community organizations and whoever reaching out to us and saying, this is going on. Great. We're going to blow it up. Put it on the newsletter, put it on social media. We'll go and create content. So we would really love for them to be, kind of cutting out the middleman.
Exactly.
And telling us about it.
Anyone's listening who has a business who wants to get on Discover Coastal Georgia's website on their radar, send an email, reach out, get to Instagram, drop a message, do something, because it's worth your while.
DiscoveringCoastalGeorgia@gmail.com. It is not hard to remember. It's we definitely want to hear from everyone. If you're opening a new restaurant, we want to know about it. If you're having a new menu change, we want to come in and try it and create content while we're there.
One thing that surprised me was that no one really knew, or at least I didn't really know, that like Moondoggies was gone and this new place, The Hangout, had taken its place. The only reason why I saw that is I was driving by it to get my car washed up there on Canal Road. It's like, whoa, wait a second, Moondoggies is gone. And so I went to Google the name, and they don't have a website yet. So I couldn't find really a menu where there's a piece of a menu. Like, these people need to get on the stick here. But I mean, if I had known, we would have gone and checked it out. And
you're obviously not getting the Discovering Coastal Georgia newsletter because I announced it when they were opening. Although I do think I heard about it a few weeks after they opened, so I still wasn't able to drum up any. Yeah,
and the only reason I knew they were changes because I have to take that way to go to work every single day.
Right. Yeah, you drive by
it. I drive by it every single day, and
I think I just saw someone mentioned it. Someone asked, what's Hangouts in the People of Brunswick Facebook group.
That's like, I forgot what the name of it was before, but then it changed to Harris's Steak and Seafood. And now it's...
was the thing was the Hilltop or something like that?
No, I don't remember. I think it started with an M. But then it was Harris's Steak and Seafood, and now it's, can't even pronounce it. It starts with an A. But now it's I guess it's going to be an Italian restaurant. I don't know, but that's what I heard. It's by the hotel.
By the Holiday Inn.
The Holiday Inn. By the, is that Golden Isles Parkway? I take it every single day.
Yeah, right on Golden Isles Parkway, just before you get to 95, the Holiday Inn.
I call it the Airport Road.
I know where you're talking about.
Yeah. There used to be a steakhouse. The original steakhouse was there, and we actually ate there, but the owner passed away by his own hand. And then it was a steakhouse, another steakhouse by a different name, and now they're changing it again. Again, it will still only be second best Italian restaurant. Because I drive by it a lot of times because I stop and pick up my protein shake from Newport City, plugging Newport City, and then I hit the highway to go up to Savannah. So I drive by that every day as well, and it's just kind of like, what are they doing in here? Yeah. But there's a lot going on, and definitely the You Know Me group has got to sign up for your newsletter so we can post that, because I mean it's kind of in our wheelhouse to do that. So
yeah, definitely. I think there's probably a lot of things if we dig deep enough that we could collaborate on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe some social media tips, because I have 4 Instagrams and I'm all thumbs with that stuff still. I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Well, and we've been following you guys for a while. We actually, I told you I just bought this house about 6 weeks ago. We needed a new bed in one of the guest rooms, and lo and behold, we had just listened to an interview with Golden Isles Mattress. And so we had it over there, and that's where we got it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That is cool. Yeah. And that reminds me, I do actually have to make an appointment. We need a new mattress in the guest bedroom too, and my daughter and her fiance are showing up Memorial Day weekend, and I desperately need to get a new mattress on that spare bedroom, because it is like old. Yeah, it's old and creaky, and So thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, head on over there.
So speaking about social media, I mean, you mentioned that some of these places don't post a lot. What do you think is the challenge besides just not having a social media person? What else could be the challenges to keeping social media and being viable in social media or having that traction? Because I mean, we see it sometimes, like we'll post something and we'll get like 3 likes. It's like
Well, and I mean, there's no pleasing the social media gods. So you can't. So the algorithm is against us all.
Right.
And,
Yes.
And I think that's what it is. I think there's the number one problem is these being owner-operator businesses, and if you were cooking breakfast at your bed and breakfast and that's your cleaning rooms, when are you supposed to take pictures and post content and all of that? I think then the next problem is related, that they're not doing it consistently. And so they're not doing it consistently because they don't have the time or the manpower to create that content, or because, how many pictures can you take of the same, menu items? And maybe they're just running out of ideas. But then because they're not posting consistently, the algorithms are against them. So if you don't post consistently, it's not going to be shown to as many people. If you are consistently posting every day, then Instagram says, okay, all right, people, this is a consistent, active account, so they want to be spreading the word and showing it to more people. But I think while you're waiting on it to get there, and by it, again, means social media as a whole, while you're waiting on it to get there, you're getting, like you said, just a handful of likes, a handful of comments, or no comments, or the dreaded unfollows, and you get discouraged, and so you quit. Maybe you're consistent for a week, but after a week, you're like, it's not working, and you quit posting. So I think that's what it is. It's a combination of not having the time and the manpower, which I'm trying to help with by offering my services, and then not having the consistency to make it successful.
Yeah. So with your help, some of these businesses could hopefully get that social media presence where it needs to be.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm doing it kind of 2 different ways, depending on how a business wants to work with me. That I can take pictures. I can come in and take pictures of what's going on in your business, or you can, obviously for less money, you can take your own and just send them to me, because I think a lot of people say, well, I'm taking the pictures, I'm making all that, I just don't have time to write out a content and find hashtags, and I don't know what tagging people means.
The dreaded hashtags.
Yeah.
I like.
Is that?
And I'm supposed to pick music to go on this,
Yeah, so the dreaded.
So if they've got their own media, but they just, the disconnect is just getting it from here to here, it's like, let me help you with it.
Yeah.
And if the disconnect is before that they just don't, if I'm an owner-operator restaurant, I'm cooking, when am I supposed to take pictures of the food, then I can come in and help with that too.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah. Is the hashtag going away? I think I saw that somewhere. It's like, stop using hashtags.
Well, it's so you can't follow a hashtag anymore.
Okay.
But that's it. So a hashtag you follow used to automatically show in your feed, and it doesn't anymore. But you can still, you can still search that hashtag, and so So you still want to use them.
I didn't know you could follow a hashtag.
Well, you can't anymore, so,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
So I'm safe.
You're not behind it up.
But I think a lot of it is like me. These business owners are just not savvy enough because they've been so focused on their craft or whatever it is they're doing that they've kind of not been up to date on what's going on how to handle social media and posting pictures or videos. And it gets confusing when I'm trying to post something and it's like, well, what else do you want to do? And do you want to add music? Like music, I get all panicky. I'm like, this is the only music you can choose from. People don't like the music I like,
Right.
you know. And it's just like, so sometimes I'll do music, sometimes I won't. And then it's like, well, is it a picture? Is it reels? Is it a story? Like, what is? Okay, I understand a picture, but you have a story and you have reels. To me, they're the same thing, but apparently to Instagram they're not.
Right. But a reel can be a reel or a picture or any type of media can be a page in a story. There needs to be multiple pages in order for it to be a story. So and stories are usually more casual and in the moment. So if we were to, post a couple pictures right now of us sitting here talking or a couple short clips, we would post it right now unedited as a story.
Okay.
Say this is what we're doing, and to kind of tease that upcoming reel where you're going to actually have a real interview and, a real content that you took time to create. But the story would just be kind of, look at us.
Yeah, take a picture.
Here we are.
Here.
Stay tuned for the interview.
Sometimes I'll just take a bunch of our pictures, or a post of our episodes, and I'll put them all together in a reel. And it just basically is like, here's a picture of us with a title of, here's a picture of us with a title. Or like with my other Instagram page, it's just pictures of cheesecakes. I'll have 20 of them, and I'll find like a U2 song or something like that, a beautiful day. And it's just like, you can just let these pictures of cheesecakes just go by.
Doom scroll cheesecakes.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes people also, it's easier with an outside perspective to come up with things to post about your business. If it's your business, you're too in it.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to see the beauty in what you're doing. We were just sort of brainstorming how we could, if they would let us help, how we would help different businesses. And we were talking about some of the fishing and shrimping companies.
Yeah.
And if they have an active social media, they don't. But for the most part, they don't. But if they have an active social media, it's for the most part going to be pictures of raw shrimp on ice, or dead fish, and it's only so appealing, right? And to them, that's what it is. That's what I see all day. So it's like, what else would I take pictures of? But to me, and when I look at a shrimp company or a fishing company, I want to get into the restaurants that they're supplying,
right,
and see the beautiful dishes that they're creating using that fish and using that shrimp, because they're the artists, and let the artists create something with this medium that you gave them, and and then when you share that, they're bound to share it too, and then now you have their followers seeing it, and you're tagged, and other restaurants are going to see that, or getting out on the boat with your guys who are shrimping and fishing. Those are the coolest pictures.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a little video of the nets coming up or opening up and seeing the catch come out.
Right, and that would be like that. Or just bucket of dead fish, why, and but sometimes you need that outside perspective to
You're
say,
right, though.
like, there's beautiful things happening here.
Yeah.
But and again, like, if you are running this shop, when are you gonna find the time to go out and take pictures and videos of these guys on the boat? And when are you gonna go to these restaurants? And so again, that's kind of where I come in, is I can contact that restaurant and say, hey, I'm working with this, fishing company. I know they supply. I'd love to know what sort of dishes you're making. Come out and take some pictures of a few. And so I think it's just hard for some businesses to see beyond the part of the business they see.
Oh, you're right. And you have to have a little bit of an artist's eye, a photographer's eye, to kind of, see something to make it look appealing in a photograph. Everyone can take a picture, but, to really see a wonderful picture, you have to have that I guess that eye that really can put that in a perspective that make people, God, I really want to have that.
Yeah, and that said, I do not pretend to be a photographer. When I come out there, it's gonna be me and my phone. And but at the same time, I've been a food blogger for 10 years. We started Biscuits and Burlap 10 years ago. So it's not about the camera, it's not about the editing or any of that stuff. If the dish isn't beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not. Like, have you ever tried to take a pretty picture of like meatloaf? It's just not pretty. But maybe your patio is pretty. Let's take it outside and let's take a picture.
Pretty plate, and
Yeah, we'll frame it a little bit, but yeah, it's like you said, kind of artistic eye, not necessarily, not a photographer, but I can set a scene.
Exactly. So let's go back a little bit to you started with a blog. Do you still keep that blog up, or is that blog?
Yes, yeah. We started Biscuits and Burlap. It's a Southern food blog. We develop Southern recipes. And my mom and I started that about 10 years ago. And so that was sort of how Discovering Coastal Georgia came about.
That's really cool. I'll have to find that blog as well. Mm-hmm. Always good for some new recipes.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time, so there's definitely people who we hear people say, oh, your barbecue sauce recipe is the one that I've been making for 10 years now, and
that's really cool.
I've got to go back to your website every time I make barbecue because I can never remember what it is. So.
Oh my God! So you develop all these recipes yourself?
Yes.
You have draw inspiration from certain places and kind of put that together into something that's
that's how. Again, that's kind of where Discovering Coastal Georgia came from, was because so many of those recipes were inspired by experiences we had here. Whether that was, my mom as a kid remembering being at little beachside shacks eating smoked fish dip, and she just tried to recreate that smoked fish dip she remembered from her childhood, and we put that on the website. Or whether it's, eating those delicious bacon-wrapped green beans at the half shell. We tried to recreate that, and now we have bacon-wrapped green beans. And, we gave them credit for the inspiration. But so many of our recipes were inspired just by experiences we had here. And not just here. There's a lot of in New Orleans, and it is very close to our heart. So there's a lot of Cajun and Creole, a lot of low country, a lot of just good old soul food. So yeah,
that's awesome.
And some of it's old family recipes. It's my grandma's macaroni and cheese is on there, and some of it's a little jazz stuff and church stuff and nouveau southern, we can call it, but
well, that's one of the things. Like I was a picky eater, so in order for me to really expand my palate, I'd had to make it myself, and I had to put my own thing on it, whether there's extra garlic or bacon or something in it that will kind of make it mine, that I will eat it. So that's how I really kind of got started. Like you, though, I mean, I watch all the cooking shows, and that's where I get like some of the ideas. When the Food Network actually had cooking shows, not cooking competitions and things like that, but they actually had Bobby Flay would sit there and
like Emerald Lagasse.
Yeah, Emerald Lagasse. Bam, kick it out. Now he's from Fall River, Massachusetts, and that's a very heavy Portuguese community. And my family, my mom and dad now live right next to that. They live in New Bedford, which is right next to Fall River. When I go visit, I always go into Fall River because some of the restaurants with that Portuguese cooking is amazing. And, it has a lot of southern, they use that andouille sausage. That's a Portuguese sausage. And it's got the spice in it, but it's got a lot of great flavor. And, you make like a Creole with that, or a lot of different things. So it's fun going over there and trying something different. And the food is really amazing. There's some great breakfast diners too, which are huge omelets, like a 5-egg omelet.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you have to roll me out of there. I'm like already in food
Too
coma.
rich for my blood.
Yeah, but that's really cool. And now you have all those recipes stored away, written down. See, I need to do that. Everything is up in my noggin here.
And that's kind of how it started. It really started as a hobby. Again, my mom and I are partners on that as well. And she wanted to preserve family recipes in a way. She wasn't sure. We had these old family cookbooks that have been kind of, were created at some point, typed out on a typewriter. And but my mom was kind of looking at her grandchildren and saying, is that really something they're going to want to have in their kitchen? Is that the medium that they're going to be referring to?
It's not in the cloud.
Probably not. So she was like, I wanted a digital way to preserve these recipes. And I suggested the blog. And at first she was kind of taken aback, and she was like, but other people would say, and it wasn't about like preserving our like family secrets or anything, she just didn't think anyone would care. She didn't think anyone outside of our family would care. But I'm, in that millennial generation where we, at this time, again, I'm 36 now, so at the time I was in my mid-20s. Some of my friends are getting married, they're starting families of their own, but they, a lot of times, were from families that didn't grow up cooking together. Mm-hmm. They didn't help their mom in the kitchen, and they weren't sitting around the table at the same time every night having those family dinners. But now it's their turn to host Thanksgiving. And, that's so much pressure. And then you have social media telling you that your Thanksgiving table is supposed to look like this. And that's so much pressure. And because some influencers said that this is what everyone's Thanksgiving table looks like. But they never learned any of the basics, right? So that was, I kind of convinced my mom. I was like, no, like we know things, and people want to know the things we know. Like it's just that simple. So that was kind of how it started, and it did just start as a family thing and a hobby, and it took several years before we really started taking it seriously. But when we did, it turned into a business, and so that became a business for us about 6 years ago. So I'm still going strong.
That's awesome.
Let's go back to discovering coastal Georgia. Have you ever heard anybody say like, "Wow, Georgia has a coast"?
I hear Georgia has a coast, but there's many beaches, right?
Yeah.
And I hear, oh yeah, you mean Savannah? I hear those two things. So,
I hear,
and I think what they're thinking is Savannah's not on the beach. So, and since that's obviously all of coastal Georgia,
Right.
there must not be a beach. And
I get, where's Brunswick?
yeah.
All the time.
Oh, yeah, I do all
Even
the time.
people in Savannah. They're like, people I work with, they're like, where do you live? I'm like, Brunswick. Where's that? I'm like, just go down 95 South for
When
an
we
hour.
told our friends we were leaving Atlanta and moving to Brunswick, we could just see their eyes kind of glaze over, and we'd go about an hour and a half south of Savannah. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Actually, I got
I'm with you now.
I have something like that too. When I was at the Atlanta airport taking the flight from Atlanta to Brunswick, and two people walked by and they saw the sign. And they're like, "Where's Brunswick, Georgia?" Like, and it's like,
I know it's wild, but the funny thing is when I told my mom and dad we were moving to Brunswick, and my dad immediately said, "Oh, that's where that Southern Soul barbecue is." He has never been here until we moved here.
And also, it's not in Brunswick.
I know, but it's because he lives in an area where people either they live up there in the summertime and they're down in Florida in the wintertime, and they must get bored enough to drive up to Georgia and find St. Simon's. So he's heard about Southern Soul.
He just read that Southern Living article that will live in infamy.
But yeah, it's a funny thing. Like, how do you know about that? It's like, oh, people talk about it around here. I'm like, well, when you come down and visit, we'll go over to Southern Soul and you can have it. I always like it. I always promote it. It's some really good food, but it just made me laugh because everyone else is like, "Where's Brunswick?" Or then, like when the ship fell over, was it Golden Ray?
Golden Ray.
When Golden Ray tipped over, I don't know how many phone calls and texts I got from all my friends up north. Oh, so that's where you live? I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
I see this ship every day.
But yeah, the barbecue thing, that's a big debate in my family because I know Southern Living says it's Southern Soul. And some of us agree. And some of us agree. Some of us are beachcomber people. Some of us are over here in Brunswick. I can get Twin Oaks and go to Lee's Market. And, we'll come to fisticuffs over our barbecue.
the great barbecue debate.
Well, I was to have a big, huge blind taste test. Have all your family out there and just let's do a blind taste test on ribs and pulled pork and see who likes what.
Blind taste test.
So as the Golden Isles is growing, as Brunswick is growing, is there anything or one thing in it that you would love to see come either downtown or somewhere in the Golden Isles that we don't have right now?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. You tell me your idea, and I'll think of mine.
Well, for me, would be a music venue. I know we have some music venues, but I'm talking like a genuine music venue, like Charleston has. Was it the Music Hall? I think in Charleston, and Savannah has a couple different venues. Jacksonville had a few, but like a true music venue. Where you could have your local bands that would play, but to get some bigger names to come through and play.
Up and coming artists. Or even like there's a band that we're going to go see down in Jacksonville at the Deca Live. I don't even know where it is. It's going to be our first time there. But it's Nothing More. And they're a bigger not heavy metal, but a metal band, rock band. And they're playing at a smaller venue like Deca Live. So it'd be nice to have in Brunswick a venue where you can get some of these bigger names to come through and watch them.
Yeah, I agree. I like your idea. No, I think that would be great. I've heard about, only because I see events that they're having, and I guess it's an event venue, so you don't really hear about event venues. You hear about the events, right? But there's a place that has Battle of the Bands.
Yep. Actually, my son's band is going to be on that. So it's going to be at the Queen and Grant.
Queen and Grant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just saw the Battle of the Bands. I think someone was promoting it. They're doing a fundraiser. It was a fundraiser for
Safe Harbor.
Safe Harbor,
Yep.
yes. And so I saw Safe Harbor was showing all these events that are coming up in April. And so the Battle of the Bands was one of them. It said at Queen and Grant. Well, what is Queen and Grant?
Yeah.
And as far as I know, that's the only kind of
Well, yes and no.
similar.
Yeah.
I know there's, of course, restaurants that have live music.
Yeah. So our friend Josh Sinyard, he owns Encore Theater. Is it Encore Co, which is a theater company, and he recently just moved into the mall, took one of the spaces, and as part of that, he's working with two other people that I know, and it's going to be split. They're going to have theater shows. And then sometimes we'll have live music events in there too. So hopefully that'll be a newer space for music events also.
More stuff for your newsletter, hopefully.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, and I would love to, like you said, see some more opportunities for more bands to come from outside this area to this area. That was one thing that my mom told me moving down here. We said we would, we were out at a bar and we saw Pinebacks Dwellers.
Yeah.
And of course they're amazing.
Yes.
But my mom then mentioned another band, and she kind of said, you'll get to know the bands around here.
You do, yeah.
She's like, there's like 12 of them, and, or whatever, and they all just sort of rotate around. From what I've seen, they're all great.
Yes.
But it would be nice, right, to have that infusion of outside.
Yeah, and it could also help the local bands if these outside bands were like, well, we'll have a local band open up for our band. So.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly.
Yeah, because they these bands travel up through the ranks. I mean, you don't make a record and then fill out a 65,000 person stadium. They start out in these smaller venues and work their way up. And I remember when I was living out in San Francisco, there was a bar, and we were watching. I think it was not the Black Crowes. A couple of bands that became pretty popular. Saw them before they actually hit the radio waves and had their singles out there, and so we got to see them early on. And like, oh man, these guys are really good. They're gonna go somewhere, and they're playing their music. It's all original, and that was a good part, because it's not like a cover band's great because it plays the music you really, really like. But when you have a band who's coming out and they're up and coming and they have the original stuff and you can really get into it, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love going to Murphy's Tavern for live music. It's far too small of a place for live music, but I've also never heard a bad band there, and I've been going there since, the second I turned 21. I have been going to Murphy's Tavern, and it's a kind of a tradition in my family. They, our last name is Brand. Bonus point, so if you can find the plaque on the bar that says the brands. But I've never heard a bad band there. I love listening to music there. But again, they don't have any social media presence, so who knows when there's a band playing there. You just have to stop by and find out, or hope that the band themselves are promoting. Promoting it and putting it out there.
Or if you know one of the band members and they're like, hey, we're playing.
Right. But it would be nice, they're coming to town. Those bands are coming from out of town and playing there. So it'd be great if we could, be on the island one night, over here in Brunswick one night at this cool new venue.
Yeah.
Yeah, we found a band that played at the Wee Pub for a St. Patrick's Day. They were called I think the Bastard Sons, and it's kind of AC/DC meets Dropkick Murphys.
Okay.
And they were fun. They were a lot of fun. They were loud. They were rocking and little, outlaw kind of, and we loved it. We had a blast watching them and watch them play. But they haven't been back to Brunswick yet. But a place like that would be perfect. That's the size that they would play. They're down in Jacksonville a lot. I think they're in Atlanta a lot. They came here once.
And was that the same band that played at Silver Bluff?
That's what I'm thinking, though.
Is it an Irish punk band played at Silver Bluff?
No, it wasn't them. The one that playing at Silver Bluff was like Whiskey, Blood,
oh, you're right. It was Whiskey, Blood, and something.
Yeah.
Whiskey, Blood, and Tears or something like that. They were great.
They were
too.
great.
Yeah, but also a great Irish punk band.
Yeah.
And there was one lone guy there doing his, I don't know what you call it, but that punk dance move that all the boys do at the punk shows, and we just wanted to follow him. Like, where are you hanging out in Brunswick? That was our first weekend here. So, but I don't think he knows where to hang out either, because he was a fish out of water himself. So,
did you get to watch that band at Silver Bluff? Did you get a chance to watch the band at Silver Bluff?
Yeah.
Were you there when they let the little kid drum?
I did. Oh, I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually my son's band's drummer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Very cool.
shout out to Clay.
Yeah. Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Such a
Very
talented young man.
Yeah. So they're good. My son's band with Clay. They're going to be at Battle of the Bands on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being on here and everything that you do for promoting the entire Georgia coast, which is very important. It's important for tourism. It's important for the restaurant owners, the hotel owners, the little shops. So thank you for everything that you do for promoting the coastal Georgia.
That community engagement, really, bringing people out and having a good time.
Yeah. So just as we close, just give the audience all the info again on how they can find your website, Instagram page, all that good stuff.
Instagram, Facebook are both Discovering Coastal Georgia. Online is DiscoveringCoastalGeorgia.com. So all really easy to remember. Contact us at DiscoveringCoastalGeorgia@gmail.com.
And that's how we get your newsletter too?
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can subscribe. There's a link on the link in our bio on Instagram, and there's a subscribe button at the top of the page on DiscoveringCoastalGeorgia.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming
Oh,
on.
thank you.
you.
It's a pleasure.